Good evening, gentlemen, and welcome back to another episode of A Fool's Interpretation of the Havamal. I had to take a few weeks off because I had another child, but now that beautiful little baby is sleeping for longer extended periods of time, I can I can focus some of my attention back towards this stuff and talking to you assholes. But without any further ado, as usual, I am your host, Robert the Fool, and we will just start off by reading these stanzas and talking about what we think they mean and how we can apply them to our lives. 56. You should be only a little wise, never too wise. It's best not to know your fate beforehand. You'll live happier if you don't. Now, this one, like, how many stories or games or have you played or movies have you watched, books have you read where somebody learns their fate in the beginning of the story and then spends the entire time trying to either beat their fate or the prophecy that's given to them, or make sure it doesn't come true, or they try to make sure that it does come true, and whatever they're trying to do doesn't happen. Usually, I mean, like, whatever their prophecy is that's given to them, or their fate that's told to them beforehand, like, that's what ends up happening, whether it's Baldur's dreams, whether it's Sigurd being told all this stuff about from his uncle, or whether it's Odin going and hearing the prophecy about Ragnarok. Everybody gets told something about their fate that is going to happen, and they spend the rest of their time trying to fight it, and they they're never able to beat their fate. Now, I don't think this means that every little action about your life is predestined and already carved out by the Norns in the tree of life or whatever, like, I don't think every action is set in stone, but I do think pivotal things are set in stone and they're going to happen. Like I know throughout your life, like, when you think about the actions that led to you having your children, they seem random or whatever, or if you were like, no, I was planning on having my children, I get what you mean, but because, like, I've planned my last two children, but even many of my decisions leading up to that seem kind of random. And what I'm saying is, I think things like when you have a kid, or like a car crash that I was in, that I experienced in my life, I think there's certain things that are set in stone that will happen. I think you do have a fate, and I think I think there are certain things about your life that are predestined. And I think that this is what this is talking about, those certain core elements of your existence, and it's better not to know them. This is why years ago, I stopped messing around with like tarot cards, or which the more I got into it, I was like, I just don't even like this at the base of it. But then, like, when it came to casting runes and stuff like that, and then the more I learned about that, I was like, I bet because this is a very, like, practicing this religion is very solemn thing. It's very lonesome. Like, I don't have anybody I practice this stuff with. and I decided to stop casting runes because I was like, I bet if I was in like a community of people that practice this religion and it was something that had been being done for hundreds and thousands of years or whatever, like I wouldn't be the one casting runes. It'd be somebody that was like more specialized in this, like, a gothy or whatever, a priest essentially. and and then I didn't like the idea that I was just kept trying to figure out what was going to happen. I'm so like we've talked about this in other stanzas where a man shouldn't be brooding about stuff that happened in the past or about what could happen, and a man shouldn't be worrying about. So you shouldn't be laying in bed worrying about stuff that's going to be happening tomorrow. Like if you like, okay, this is talking about being told a fate beforehand. It's like getting a letter in the mail telling you that your electricity is going to be shut off in 3 days because you didn't pay your fucking bills. Now, you can sit there and fret about that, or and you could and then you could try to figure out some way to fix it, even though it's like, bro, even if you can't send a letter on time, you're like, first of all, you don't got the money. You're like, shit, how am I gonna get the money? Even if I try to turn some tricks or sling some offhand contraband, I'm not gonna make my money. What am I gonna do? So you're screwed that way. And if you try to send a letter, it ain't going to make it on time. And then even if you did have the money and you went online and you paid your bill, it wouldn't the process wouldn't happen before you get your electricity shut off. And so this is like this is how I'm trying to apply this stanza to the modern world. Sometimes we do learn our fate beforehand with things like getting a letter about your electricity going to be getting shut off. And when when you get that letter and you're stressing about it for those 3 days until it does happen, like you'd be happier if you didn't know that, and then you just had your electricity shut off. So I think that that's kind of what this is talking about. 57. A torch is lit by another and burns till it's burned out. A fire is kindled by another fire. A man becomes wise by speaking with other men, but foolish by keeping to himself. Uh, you know, to bring this into today's world, this is like why people say, don't make sure you don't end up in an echo chamber. If you find yourself with a group of friends or in some social media setting, some subreddit or some subreddit or a group on Facebook or whatever. If somebody says and makes a post and the comments are all nothing but hoorahs and yeahs and agreements with the post, and there's no actual debate about the validities of the original post and why it is or is not correct in whatever the point is that the post is trying to make, then you're not speaking with other men. You're only speaking with yourself. Like you're like, well, what do you mean? There's fucking thousands of people in this subreddit, and we all blah, blah, blah. Yeah, no. If you're all saying the same thing, then you're all a bunch of fucking idiots. A bunch of chickens. Bak 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 bak. Bunch of sheep. Ba 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 ba. If you're all saying the same thing, then you're all no. Like that's the dumbest thing. If you're talking with a group of people and you find yourself agreeing on everything, then you need to, well, all right, this sounds like, I don't want to sound like some modern communist, Marxist fucking loser that's looking for things to be upset about. But like, for example, my wife and I don't agree on everything. We agree on, I'd say, 90 or maybe even 99% of things. But we disagree on a few little things, like on a very small amount of things, because of the simple fact that we are different people. And there's never a time where my wife and I are going to 100% agree on on something. We might agree on our end. Sometimes we might agree on our end goal, but not agree on how we get there. And sometimes vice versa. We might agree on how to get there, but not exactly what we want the end goal to be. And and the way the way that you keep the way that you keep your fire going is that you come to the compromise between the two of you, so that both of you can get what you want and need, but in a way that is beneficial and uplifting and prosperous for both people. Like, even though it's just a stupid movie and it's not historically accurate at all, I really like the line from the movie Braveheart, when the character Robert the Bruce is Robert the Bruce, the younger one, is talking to his father, and his father is telling him about how easy it is. Like, he's saying, "You want to go charge off and fight in the battlefield?" He's talking about, because he's telling Robert, like, "You want to go do that with William, like, and go charge off." He's like, "Yeah, it's easy." He's an uncompromising man, and it's easy to admire an uncompromising man. He's like, he's telling him that what he needs to do is learn how to compromise, because he's telling him that he needs to compromise because it's a noble man that makes the compromise. The compromise is the ability to settle. It's the ability to forego everything that you want to get to get an outcome that's better for everybody instead of just yourself. So the true nobleman, learns how to compromise. And the only way you can learn how to do that is by talking to multiple different people. Now, now, like, this isn't like in today's stupid modern world, they'd say, "This is why diversity is our strength, and we make sure to shut the fuck up." That is not what this is talking about at all. This isn't talking about making sure diversity is your strength. What this is talking about is, like, having, like, I'm okay, like in the army, and I was an engineer. So, like, you take like one engineer dude, you take like one doctor dude, you take like one mechanic dude, you take like one communications guy, uh, and then you have them all talking about something. So the um, their fields of expertise and knowledge, and uh, where their accolades come from, is what the different is the kind of different people that you need to be putting yourself around. Like, when it's talking about a torch being lit by another torch, that's what it's talking about. It's talking it's talking about, like, say you're trying to solve a math problem. You got a bunch of engineers trying to solve a math problem. Well, maybe instead of, like, go ask this communication dude, like uh like a telecommunications expert is going to know stuff about math too, just from a different perspective. And so, like, that is the different torch that you need to find, something along the lines of that. 58. Rise early if you want to take another man's property or his life. A sleeping wolf seldom gets his meat, or a sleeping warrior a victory. 59. Rise early if you have no one to work for you, and get straight to work. You lose more than time if you sleep when it dawns. For the early riser, wealth is half won. So this one is these two. Well, I read them both together because they go hand in hand. Sometimes I do that with these stanzas. I mean, it's just like that classic thing, the early bird gets the worm. You know, um, if you're planning to beat somebody or get something before somebody else, you gotta get there first. So I mean, there's not much to explain in this one. Um, I mean, obviously, if the wolf is sleeping in the morning when the rabbit goes out to eat that dew-covered grass during the sunrise and all that pretty shit, then the wolf isn't going to get that rabbit. And then the rabbit gets to, have his nice little morning. So if you if you want to get there first, you gotta get there first. Like, it's not complicated. Same thing with 59. If you have nobody to if you have nobody to work for you, don't work don't work a part-time job. Don't even only work a full-time job. Work multiple jobs. Work more than full-time, because you have nobody to work for you. So you can work the minimal amount, or you can work more than the minimal amount and make extra. I mean, and not all of us, you have to get up in the morning. Like, my regular shift is swing shift, so I'm not getting up when it dawns. But, it, because what this is talking about is uh, getting up and going outside and doing your work on your property. And so you need the sunlight to do that. So you're getting up at dawn. We're not talking about that kind of stuff. We're talking about applying this to our modern life. So a regular work day is 8 hours. All right. So if you don't go work the 8 hours, this is what it's talking about. You're losing more than just money if you don't get up and go work your standard 8 hours that day. It's like, I mean, like I always say, some of these I think are pretty self-explanatory and really obvious, and there's not much to explain about them. But I think what there is uh, time worth spending on is talking about how to like change the wordage of the stanza to apply it to your modern life, because like I was saying, we don't all get up at dawn to go work out on our property because we're farmers or whatever. We're getting up at 4:30 in the morning to go to work at 6. So I guess that would be getting up at fucking dawn. But I don't go to work until 2:45 in the afternoon. So there's guys like me too. But all right, so I think that'll do it for this evening's episode of A Fool's Interpretation of the Havamal. I'm glad to be back, and I hope you guys all have a good evening, and I will talk to you later.